Hey, what's up, everybody? All right, let's turn off that and you. Oh, Anthony, thank you, Anthony. That was very kind of you. All right, I guess I gotta start. Let's go. Thank you. Yes. No worries. This is showing off the merch. So, welcome everybody. Hopefully, everybody's had an excellent week. I know that it's been a little bit. Oh, they can't hear you, Corey. Give me just a second. Make sure that we have all of our routing proper. Okay, talk again, Corey. Nope. Discord, go XLR. Give me 1 second, guys. Quest. I think Discord. Oh, I think I know what's going on. Discord is probably putting your audio output somewhere else. There's one we did not. Beep. All right. Well, just like everybody, let's play a little technical difficulty song. We're gonna go to put that in chat. Okay, try one more time.
Testing. Oh, I'm hearing myself.
Yeah, there you go. Wait, you're hearing yourself.
Yes.
Go back to.
This is what happens when I don't give you enough time to troubleshoot.
Out to chat. Game. Everyone else can hear you though.
Great.
Mute me in Discord. Oh no, don't mute me in Discord. Give me a second.
Yeah.
Give me a second to think because we've got two computers that are talking to each other. Bleep, bloop, blop.
Worst case scenario, I can just hear myself.
I don't want to do speech jamming on you though. I'll trouble your shoot, Caleb. That's right. Default game. Okay, talk again. But they can't hear you. They won't be able to hear you. Music system. Now try. Nope. Just go ahead and keep talking. I'm gonna keep checking. We're gonna change different.
Now I can hear myself again.
Hear yourself again. Okay.
Might be one or the other.
Oh, I see. So we gotta go cam link input line. I think I remember why this. It's guys. It's been a few days since we've had an art stream. So,
yeah.
How's everybody's week been?
Yeah.
Okay, now just can you hear yourself still? Can you hear yourself still?
Testing. I know I can't hear myself.
You can.
Am I coming through for everyone else?
Yeah, the settings chain is real. All right. Yeah, if this one either I guess mute and unmute when you start talking, mute me. We'll do that for now, and we'll have to mess with it later because the settings look right, but
no, I can't. I can't hear myself anymore. We're good.
Oh, you can't? Okay, cool.
I said I can't. Yeah, we're good. Everything is good.
Exactly.
Everything's hunky dory. So we're gonna go ahead and start again. Good evening. Welcome.
You saw nothing. None of this.
Yep. This is a flawless stream. I hope you're all prepared for nothing but the very best tonight. Yep. And yeah, again, very happy to see you tonight, Preston. Yeah, I know we just saw each other last night. We didn't play D&D. We played a little bit of Pathfinder.
What?
Yeah,
no.
we played some Pathfinder.
We're not, are we traders? Are we multifaceted? Are we like coming soon?
Yes, actually, coming soon. In fact, that is the announcement that I want to start off tonight is by saying next week, instead of our usual episode skip week, we will be doing episode 1 or session 1 of our Pathfinder game, featuring Colby from the D4 Network, our good friend. Yeah, everybody here knows him.
You know him, you love him.
Me every time I pee, flawless stream. But yeah, so check that out at the usual Wednesday, 10 a.m. You'll get to see us flounder around in Pathfinder, a system that we have just barely learned.
Yes.
And
it's been a trip.
Yep. And also come for the story, because I plan on driving as much roleplay into that story as anybody will let me. If judging by last night's episode is any indication, I felt like I took a little bit too much of the reins, but I hope that I can get everybody else into that role-playing spirit every time we play. So
there we go.
I think what I'd like to see tonight, Preston, and what the audience might like to see, is the character you're playing in our Pathfinder game.
Oh, sorry. I thought I was going to have to start.
Did we just get an echo there?
Let's see here. We've got... So my character... for those who don't know, this will be a little bit of a... oh, thanks. Get some grooves on.
Yeah, thank you, Anthony. Appreciate it.
So, real quick, I want to catch up with the chat room as well. Make sure we got everything about Richard. Hey, Richard. Hey, Caleb. Hey, Anthony. Yep. Hey, Tanaka.
Joe says he has us muted. He is currently having a session in his North mythology campaign, fighting 2 gibbering mouthers.
Sick.
That's very exciting. Throw in a good kobold, and I'll be there in spirit, I suppose.
Yes.
I think if there was one monster creature that represented me, I'd love it to be like a dragon or like a centaur or something like that, but it'd probably be a kobold.
And if you get to a nearby bar, you can you'll see a bard in the corner using his liquid courage to become an even better bard.
Yep. Keskes is interdimensional. Actually, fun story, Keskes is interdimensional. The first time that I ran him in a game was not for Tales of Aneria. It was actually for a work game that I was running around the time of... it was when the pandemic was starting. They were trying to get everyone to like continue to do activities, even if it was over chat. And so we decided to run a campaign, and I ran a modified version of the Frozen Sick free campaign from Critical Role. And so that was the origin of Keskes, is he was there serving his masters Osiris in that campaign, and had the same mannerisms and everything. And that campaign lasted like 3 episodes. So I just went, well, I don't want to lose the character. I'm bringing him on over.
I like it.
It's beyond the Keskes verse, I think, is the best way to describe it.
Kes verse. Yes verse. Yes.
Anthony coming in hot today. Appreciate it. We appreciate all of the wonderful little donations.
Yeah, we appreciate it. Much love, man.
But yeah, let's talk about you. I mean, the character you're playing specifically.
I want to talk about me.
I mean, if you want to talk about yourself.
No, so I'm getting them up here. But essentially, in this Pathfinder, obviously, we can give a little sneak peek, I think, of both our characters. Give a little bit of everybody here who's here early and all the other fun stuff. We'll give you guys a little extra love. So we got my character I'm playing is a bard, and his name is Shin Masake. I don't know, depends on how you look at it. Masake. And he is a kitsune. Of one of the kind of the dark kitsune, is more of a humanoid race that has the capability of kind of shifting between the two of them, kind of between Fox Spirit and this one. Up till this point, I don't know that anyone in the game has run into it yet, but at this point he just looks like kind of like an elven humanoid. Is his human form, but he loves mischief. He is very much a bard. He is very new to the adventuring idea, but he really loves to run into danger with the hopes of finding his next big story that he can tell people and captivate everyone at the local bars and taverns. But he's pretty fun loving. He's enjoys the company of others, and he's very he's tenacious. It's gonna be fun. Holy smokes! Game over. Had to hit 100 cat bugs. Leave work on big lads. All right, appreciate you. Drive
Thanks,
safe,
Anthony.
Please
appreciate
be safe,
it.
Anthony.
Yeah.
As
Preston, please tell me you're as spoony as possible.
Spoony as possible. You're gonna have to make sure. I have not heard that phrase used.
I don't believe our characters have spooned as of yet.
I haven't spooned yet.
And although we did have a fun little moment,
assuming that that's what we're talking about is being cuddly.
Yeah, no, I mean,
like that wouldn't really necessarily be spooning or anything. That'd be more anime.
Yep, that's anime pratfall.
Pratfall.
Yep.
Yeah, it was good.
That was
it was fun.
So,
I haven't seen that one. You Spoony Bard. That's for some reason that one I haven't come across that. That's cool. I learned something new. Final Fantasy
cool. 14, actually. Wait, no, 4.
Yeah, 4.
Sorry.
That's the one. That was the one with
that was a capitalization correction. I thought it was an addition there.
That's the one with the dark paladin. I can't remember his name, isn't it? I might be mixing them up because I know that they had an American version and they had a Japanese only version, and so like the numbering system got weird around that time. But
yeah, I wanted to play through all the Final Fantasies, and I started with number 1. That was during like the pandemic, and because we have a one of those like Nintendo consoles that have all the classic games on them.
Mm-hmm.
But we cracked it, or Scott cracked it, so it has every game from the Nintendo and Super Nintendo on it.
Nice.
And so I started playing it, but I was just like, it was so grindy, and I don't know if I was just doing it wrong, but it felt like really grindy, and I was like, I don't think that I'm that interested. I need to give it another try. Because I know I loved Final Fantasy 9, but I only played half of that one as well.
Yeah, no, I like them. And to your point, like I think it's one of those ones where it does have a very different kind of cadence to it, and there's parts that are grindy to it. But how far do you remember getting in those? Like as far as the story wise?
So let's see. I think I had defeated the first boss.
Okay.
And was on, I crossed the ocean to the second continent. I don't remember too much of the story beyond that.
All right, we're going to do a little bit of other kind of stuff here.
Yeah, so I mean,
it's a good one. I think oh, don't tell me. Don't. Okay, we're good. Lock that layer. Back here. But yeah, it's like to your point, there's definitely a different cadence to the Final Fantasy games. Yeah, so
for sure.
Richard's saying so it's American Final Fantasy 2 with Cecil, Rosa, and Kain.
And that's also a problem, is that's such a confusing system.
Yeah, it is.
It always is when they get ported over, right?
It is.
Or at least in early days it was like that, because there was no real communication about any of that stuff between Japanese and American
release these other two, so in America we're gonna call this one 4 or 2, but it's actually gonna be blah blah blah. Yeah.
Good morning, Bart. Welcome. Yeah, I mean, as far as Shin goes, going back to our lovely Bard friend here. Yeah, it's funny that you and I pretty much had not similar character concepts, but similar traits for our characters. Both of our characters are kind of two-sided, not two-faced, but they have a disguise almost.
Yeah.
And both of our characters are non-adventurers. They've never been on an adventure before now. And so there's definitely a little bit of camaraderie in there between our characters, and you'll see that in the first episode. We definitely chat a little bit more because we're the odd couple out as far as it goes. Actually, I was waiting for you last night because the first episode, I pulled a prank on you. It was a little bit mean-spirited at the time, but I was hoping that Jim would take it as a prank. And then in the second episode, I was waiting for you when you were trying to help me at one point. I'm not trying to avoid as many spoilers as possible here, but if you remember, you were trying to aid me at one point.
Yes.
And I was waiting for you to pull a prank on me and like stop helping me suddenly to make me, pratfall and everything. But I was doing that plenty on my own.
Yeah.
Who's running the Pathfinder game? Scott is running the Pathfinder game.
I'm the captain.
That's right. Scott is taking the reins. He's been doing an amazing job.
Yes.
He's running a specific module to make it a little bit easier on him because this is a first time. So if you are interested in Pathfinder or interested in playing the Abomination Vaults and don't want spoilers, you may want to like I don't know, watch it later, get a group together and start playing through, and then watch it after you beat a chapter. But he has been doing an amazing job. He got a whole bunch of minis painted. The encounters that he's been running have been really, really cool and interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Not to mention, like the system, like he's literally diving into a new system with us and DMing at the same time.
Like, and that's always fun because it's like all of us are learning and mm-hmm. even Colby, who like he was commenting, I was like, man, now we get back and it's been a little while since we played the first one, so it was like, okay, we got to get back in the groove. Like I got to remember how to play Pathfinder. He's like, yeah, I know. Like, can I make movies about not movies? I make YouTube videos about it like on a weekly basis, and there's a bunch of stuff I have to remember. It's like, oh gosh,
exactly. And then one thing we should probably note about this one is it's not going to be a scheduled release for the Pathfinder episodes. We're going to try and do them as we can, but the schedule for the Pathfinder games is very tentative at best. So they're going to be just an additional when we decide to put them out, whether it's on an off week or it's just on a random day in the middle of the week. You will get them, but they will be sporadic as far as that goes. Just because that is the way it do sometimes. But yeah, I guess we can talk about my character as well. Lady D, as she is known, is a mysterious woman who has been to, I should say, she has been formally trained in the Academy of Absalom in magic. She lives in the town that the party meets in, so she is a native, unlike everybody else in the party. There's a couple people that live nearby or have been traveling nearby, but she is the only Otarian specifically, and she is she's kind of a tall woman. She covers herself in purples and blues, like dark blues mostly. She's got a giant overcoat. She covers her face with a very high collar, and that kind of just like goes up to her eyes. And then she has a huge wide brimmed hat, like bigger than her shoulders, and even then by some think like Rani,
yeah,
from Elden Ring.
Yeah, Elden Ring.
Mm-hmm. Think that kind of size for her hat.
The Blue Maiden.
What you can see of her actual face is pale skin. Her eyes, when she is presenting to the party, are glowing, are black sclera with a glowing yellow rune on them, and you can see the hint of light coming from other parts of her skin as well. Little etches of other runes that kind of crisscross the surface. And she is a magic wielder, and she also has a familiar named Lulu that is her ball python. It's an albino ball python, and all of the yellow spots, I guess it's a banana python as we call them, and all of the yellow spots are runes themselves. I've worked really hard on this character. Thank you for saying it's a dope description. She has, there's more to her backstory, and she does have like a full name and a full like backstory as far as everything else goes, but I want to play that a little closer to the chest. Technically, in the first episode, you do get to see her outside of her, I call it her vigilante guise, her mask on vigilanteism. Mm-hmm. But and she's definitely, as far as personality goes, she's definitely a greedy person, and she's definitely a ambitious person. She's very much interested in what everything can offer her, but not to the detriment of wanting to betray the party or cheat them out of anything. More of mutual benefits, right? A symbiosis of some kind between her and the other party members.
Yeah, I feel that.
Oh, and she has a little goblin servant as well. His name is Scovald.
Scovald?
Yep. But yeah, I've been excited to play her for a while now. As soon as we started talking about Pathfinder, I sat down and went through all the classes and found the perfect character idea and concept. And I've talked with Scott about her backstory and what her character path might entail. He's got a few different options that he's going to kind of work with. It sounds like it might be going with the one that I'm most excited for as far as plot lines go. So, but obviously Scott has said that the first little bit will not include a lot of character stuff because we don't want to he's still learning the system just like we are, so he's trying to just play it as is in the module. So
yeah, I feel you.
Yeah,
that'll be fun.
So as far as Shin goes,
people now that you've created a character and you've spent time on it and you started to play, and as soon as Cory bought dice, we all decided we're not going to play Pathfinder anymore. We're going to do
exactly. Yep. Well, so there's actually a couple episodes that maybe we'll release one day where Dallin was running an Out of the Abyss campaign.
Mm-hmm.
Is that what it is? It's not Into the Abyss, right? It's Out of the Abyss.
Out of the Abyss, yeah.
Yeah. And when I found out I was going to play, I came up with a character concept and I sent him a 27-page backstory that detailed the character's entire life. And we played the first game, and I fell in love with her there too. I'm on a female character kick lately, apparently, which is it's fine. And then we played the second game, and I was like, "Oh, this is awesome! I'm having so much fun. The character is definitely growing, and I can't wait to see where they go." And that second game, I had brought in new dice, the specific dice for the character, because that's what I like to do. It helps them roll better, in my opinion. And then at the end of that game, everybody started talking about wanting to do Pathfinder and switch on over to that, and I'm like, oh no, I can't play this character anymore. She'll be around someday, I'm sure, but it's definitely one of those things where it's like I'm okay leaving her as is instead of trying to port her over into a new story, just because she fits. Her backstory and her story fit that specific D&D. It was specifically in Faerun. It was specific to that D&D world.
Yeah.
And porting her over to the Pathfinder would have been more of a headache than I was willing to work with a new system. And so I was just like, we'll just leave her there. I've got plenty of other ideas.
Yep. I feel that. Especially as a DM myself, it's you never have a shortage of here's a bunch of characters. One day I'll play these. Or at least there'll be an NPC in the campaign or something.
Yeah. Did you hear, speaking of campaigns, did you hear that they are doing a campaign that is a return to Phandalin?
Really?
Yes. I'm going to pull up the details. That was
is that in the D&D 1 setting, or is that D&D 5e? Which module is that going with? I assume since D&D 1 is still pretty...
It is... I think it's going to be I think it's going to be 5th edition, because they're not ready yet, and this is one of the story ones. Cool. New D&D modules 2023 announcement. All right, so they had their little D&D expo just before Honor Among Thieves came out, which we should talk about as well, obviously. Yeah. And here's their kind of current release schedule. They've got Keys from the Golden Vault that's coming out soon, or it's already out. I think it might already be. Let me just check. Yep, Keys from the Golden Vault is out. So, then we've got Big B Presents Glory of the Giants, which is going to be a giant centric, just like Fizban's Treasury of Dragons, right? And then quarter 3, we've got Phandelver and below the Shattered Obelisk, which apparently they've been adding these obelisks into a bunch of different modules, and they're all related to like the same storyline.
No.
Yeah. I don't know if you remember an obelisk in Phandalin or in the Lost Mines or Tome of Annihilation that you did. Tomb.
Yeah, well, that's the funny part is that those were ones that I made up.
Yeah.
Oh wait, no. So the one in there, not the obelisks, the waypoint system stuff that I put in there. Yeah. But yeah, the obelisk, I do remember that one. That'll be cool. That'll be exciting to get a little bit more lore and other kind of stuff behind that.
Yeah. And then we've got quarter 4 of 2023 is called The Book of Many Things, which delves into the history of everybody's favorite card deck. And probably includes a lot more like good little like supplemental material. Probably get like a good like maybe get like an updated Chaos Sorcerer. That would be really cool. Or a new subclass that deals with like tarot cards or something. That would be really awesome. And then we've got Planescape Adventures in the Multiverse. So we're going back to Sigil, as it's called.
Sigil.
And then in 2024, they're wrapping it all up and bringing in the big bad for this big event that they're coming out with. And it's Vecna is returning.
Yeah.
And Vecna's going to be
the myth, the legend.
Yep. There's also going to be a Red Wizards of Thay adventure in 2025.
I'm surprised that they didn't push that one up sooner with the D&D movie. Like,
yeah. Well, Keys from the Lost Vault had an escape from the ice prison that they're in at the beginning of that movie.
But that one's Icewind Dale, isn't it?
I think that
I can't remember.
I'll pull it up here. Oh, and they also said that they were looking into, or they were going to be bringing back like the big bad from the D&D 80s TV show in some capacity into the proper D&D world.
No.
I can't remember what his name is, but it's like Balthazar the Bad or something like that, you know.
And Tiamat. Those ones I remembered anyway. It's been a while since.
That was episode 1 they fought Tiamat.
Yeah. I was going to say when the big bad. That's the one that I remember probably most prominently, but it's fun.
Yeah, trying to remember here.
Remember, I'm the game. Oh, dude, they did what's his face dirty too. Did you see? You saw that? It was a commercial, I think for. Was it rules lawyering? Yeah, don't be like so and so. He's a douche. I was like, oh gosh, they did him dirty.
Yeah, I didn't see that one.
I'll send it. I'll put it in the Discord. So if you're not a part of the Discord, check down in the description below. But
absolutely,
yeah, that's that. I'm glad that they're acknowledging themselves and like there's things that are coming out. I kind of like when they're talking about some of the other campaign stuff. Like I love Dritz, but I also would be okay if they had other stuff show up in some of the lore, in some of the newer modules and stuff. Like, not to say he's like played out, and I don't think there's anything else, but I think with him being he has been for a long time been kind of like the front man. I think it'd be cool to explore some of the other ones in there. But I mean, Menzoberranzan, it's a pretty sweet place. Well, sweet as in like in theme, not not in practice. But yeah, it's a. I don't know. It'll be cool.
I'm trying to remember. Okay, hang on. Sorry.
We're going to Menzoberranzan.
I am trying to find the
in our Powafui.
The name of the prison.
Moonshae. Give me some Celtic. Yeah. Moonshae Islands. I agree, Richard. That would be sick.
Yeah.
Moonshae Islands.
Oh, holy crap. I don't know if you know this either, but tonight is the pre-release for the new Magic the Gathering set, which is like their penultimate collection of the past like 12 sets all coming together storyline wise. And the Phyrexians are on the march to every single realm and invading it, and there's going to be so many twists and turns, and I think we come out on top as far as the heroes go. You hope so.
You hope that.
Otherwise, Magic the Gathering is going to be nothing but Phyrexians from here on out.
Hey, and then they'll pull an Ender's Game or something. You'll find another planescape that somehow people survived, and
yeah. So you should check out, because I just think her design is so cool. You need to check out Elish Norn is her name.
Elish Norn.
Yeah. You can even bring her up. I'll even put that in there. She is basically the big bad behind all of the Phyrexian stuff. This kind of first Praetor, new leader of wanting to unify everything under the machine name.
Yeah, let me find it. I gotta get to the right keyboard. I got two in front of me. There we go. Now I gotta find the right mouse. This one?
No worries.
Yeah, this one.
But the reason why Richard reminded me of that is because the Celtic Arthurian magic stuff, one of the realms is Eldraine, which is basically like Arthurian magic and
yes.
like grim fairy tales and stuff, that kind of thing.
I've seen hers. That's cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. That'll be exciting. Yawgmoth. Same as the old Yawgmoth.
Yeah, pretty much. Yawgmoth is it might as well just be another one. But I mean, Phyrexians are kind of one-trick ponies. I'm sorry. Like, at least her plan was a little bit different than what Yawgmoth's was. But I mean, it was still invasion. It was just a different type of invasion. Yeah.
Instead of invading people, they invaded privacy. Wait, no.
Yeah, it's just a big
they invaded personal space, so they just stood really close to you and just.
Sorry, having a bit of a snack.
No worries.
Are we going to get to see Shin's fox form as well?
I'm thinking we will. Yes, we'll probably do like a
little
fox spirit down here.
Okay, or the like over the shoulder looking.
Yeah.
From behind, kind of dual juxtaposition where they're back to back kind of thing. That would be cool.
Back to back, brother versus brother. So Shin, to give you a little backstory as well, again, I'm not going to go too far into the mystic side of him, because similar to you, it's not, I don't mind as much that people know about his stuff, but like some of the other stuff that's in his past. But he has a brother and a sister. His younger sister is May, and his older brother is Genji. I think was what I put in there. So you can't imagine where those names came from.
No, of course not. Yeah.
And you know what's funny though is for that particular one, I decided for this character I was going to do something a little different. I was going to try and let ChatGPT give me some prompts, some extra, like, oh, okay, I want to know. Like, I gave it the framework of like, here's these two siblings that he's on good terms with. Tell me their backstories. Mm-hmm. So it was kind of fun. It was fun to see a little bit about their stuff. But he is very close to his brother. They're both very mischievous. They enjoy a good prank. He loves kind of the outside world and the people and just society, and like just being as fox spirits, he enjoys that kind of dynamic in being a part of society without necessarily being a part of society.
I'm very much looking forward to the moment when we get to see his true form, because I know that Dee has detected magic around him before, but I don't think she's ever focused on him other than just like sensing that he was magical in some way at one point. So it's one of those things where it's like, I'm very curious to see when that happens. Just as I'm curious to see when Dee's face gets revealed to the rest of the
people. It'll be one of those like, you lied to me. You lied to me.
Yeah. We're both pointing each other.
Yeah. Or it'll be the Spider-Mans.
Yep.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
But yeah, it'll be. I think we have an interesting party dynamic so far.
Yeah. I agree.
We won't go too much into it, but we've got a couple adventurers and a couple frontliners, and then you and I take up the back line and handle like the magic stuff.
Yeah.
My character definitely is not built for a big dungeon crawl, which is basically what the Abomination Vaults is, from my understanding. However, I have had plenty of time to shine, and there was a moment in the last episode where something happened, and it was declared that this would not just be a regular combat, but there would be a specific thing that would help us, like basically disable, not necessarily a trap, but a hazard of some sort. And I realized that my skill set was perfect for this. Yeah. And up to that point, I'd been feeling a little bit nervous because we'd been rolling like athletics checks and acrobatics, which my character's terrible at.
Yeah, mine too.
And yeah, exactly. We're both
like negative one or
struggling
more.
But I really had a good opportunity to shine. You actually had a great moment to shine in that hazard as well. Towards the beginning there.
Yes.
Because you were reading through your abilities and went, oh wait, I have something.
Yeah,
for
like
this.
hold on. I don't know how this works yet, but can I do this? Yeah.
Yep. And I thought that was some really good character moments and
I agree.
And everything. And my goal with D, and this is a little bit of a spoiler for you. My ultimate goal is that she's already to the point with the party where she wants to protect them, right? These are she's starting to see them as her boys, as it were. Not necessarily in like a motherly sort of way, although she does definitely come off as like the mother of the group, being like, have you had a sandwich? Do you need a healing potion? Things like that.
Mm-hmm.
But she's definitely like it's like, I will protect these three that I've chosen to work with because they've proven themselves as very, very competent and very wonderful people so far.
Like forged in fire.
Yep, exactly.
So speaking of characters in Forged in Fire and people kind of coming together, I'm curious if anybody here in the chat, Richard, anybody recently had or do you have anyone's that wants to share things that have happened similarly in their combats, or anyone else that's been playing a Pathfinder game, trying the waters out?
I'd like to hear if anybody has any cool like character bonding moments with another player character. It doesn't have to be. It could be comrades. It could be friends turn to lovers, lovers turn to enemies, that kind of thing. Enemies turn to frenemies, that sort of thing, with other players and everything. I always love to hear those stories because those are the best roleplay moments, is when two characters get to really like play off of each other and their bond gets to deepen with one another. In the meantime, though, Preston, I watched your video, or the video that you were a part of with Dallin and
yes.
Kobe.
I was like, my video. What did I do?
What did I do? About Honor Among Thieves. Yes. I thought it was very good. I thought the movie was very good. I think we talked about it a little bit on last stream. We won't do any spoilers this time, just because we don't want to.
Yeah,
it's still
haven't seen it yet. Don't worry, we're not gonna.
I think it might be 3 weeks out by this point.
Much away, but next month it's free game. That's your fault if you haven't seen it. So.
Yep. It's I have one, but I feel like it'll scare the rest of the chat.
No, you have not.
We'll be the judge of that. Or I feel like I've scared the rest of the chat. Sorry, I misread that.
We won't be deterred.
To be fair, Richard, there might not be very many others watching.
That's okay.
I know I'm watching. Scott's watching, but I think he's pouring cement right now downstairs, so he might not be there. Daniel, good evening. We just got another person in chat. There we go. I know that. I know my wife has it on, but she has it on mute because she is trying to take a nap. So that's wonderful. Appreciate it.
Right here. How you doing, Daniel? We're just about to talk about, or we've in case you hadn't heard, we are prefacing We're not going to give anything away, but we were talking about the new Honor Among Thieves D&D movie.
Yeah. I thought it was the perfect D&D movie.
I agree. So far, of any D&D movie that I have ever seen,
out of the two.
well, I mean, there's been others that have kind of been like D&D-esque or like RPG-esque, and I lump them all together. It's probably been the most like serious without taking itself too serious in a bad way.
Honestly, and I'm a little bit of a simpleton when it comes to movies. I'm not a major critic. I don't really think about movies too critically because it ruins my enjoyment of them, and I'd rather just enjoy the fun that they are. I think that it is the direction that I want to see fantasy movies go.
I agree.
It doesn't need to be this big, sprawling, epic Lord of the Rings. You can make a fun fantasy movie and just make it kind of a little goofy, a little serious, kind of throw everything in there and kind of mix it around.
Doesn't have to be a Greek tragedy. It doesn't have to be.
You don't need to. And I think that the thing with fantasy worlds is the same thing that happens with a lot of D&D campaigns, actually, is the DM or the writers think you have to have this big, fully fleshed out fantasy world. And it's like, no, you don't. Make a couple kingdoms and have them go to war with one another. Create some random magical bullshit and throw it at the wall and see what sticks, that kind of thing.
And be like, hey, we're gonna let this might not necessarily work, or it might have some plot holes in it, but we're gonna let it ride anyway. It's still fun. So really enjoyed it. Really better than expected. I was worried about the practical persona pieces, but I think they did really well with them being called back to the older fantasy movies. I agree.
I think practical effects always, there's times where they can be janky and kind of take you out of the movie, but for the most part, I think the practical effects really add a little bit of like realism and
believability. And it's like, I don't need to have everything practical. Like, for instance, like no, I won't go there. I think that it kind of grounds it a little bit, especially in the fact that the people who created those the puppeteers and things like that had to think like, okay, like mechanically, how would this character actually work or function? How can I actually like? And I thought it was really cool.
Yep. I think that one thing that practical effects needs to do is, people who do practical effects, is they do need to realize the limitations of it.
Yes,
and it goes
you have to have a puppeteer. You need to be able to have, like, if there's somebody inside of it, they need to be able to fit a human being.
Because I think as much as everybody, and myself included, loves Grogu, for example, I think that the puppeteering has been they've been overstepping what the puppet like typically should do. Right? They had a couple steps. Like, you saw Grogu take a couple steps in the first couple seasons, and then it would like cut away or move to a lower angle. I mean, that's what the Muppets do, right? They're always at a you can't see their feet angles so that the puppeteers can work beneath them. But this third season, they've been doing a lot of like really long shots of Grogu walking and doing stuff, and without any sort of like cuts to try and make it seem better. And it's like, I get that you want to show off your marketable character as much as possible, but you do need to realize that practical effects do have a limit, and if you focus on them too long, then you start pulling people out of your
you start to remember that that's definitely a puppet. I definitely had that moment a little bit with the Honor Among Thieves with a few of the practical effects, but I don't think it was it was bad enough that it distracted me from the overall story.
Yep. Like you said, there was one part in that there was only one thing that I watched that was a little janky, and it was the baby tabaxi.
Yes, that was the one, and there's no hate against it. Like, it was cool because, like, I've always thought, like, oh, tabaxi, I don't want him to necessarily. My personal prejudice, or not prejudice, but like, there's certain ways. Like, for instance, when you see a dragon and in your head, like, this is what I imagine a dragon to be, and you see someone else portray theirs, and it's not what it matches what's in your head, it can be a little jarring. And so for me, it was cool to see like them attempt, like, this is what a humanoid cat, race would look like with these features and that kind of stuff. But it was, it just felt a little bit stiff. So it was interesting. So it was like my 9-year-old throwing a stuffed animal to me. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Without. Yes. And I'm trying, and I'm being kind there too. It's just like, but it is I get
But
it. Like it
what
was like a
what a
5-second thing. They shouldn't like spend a whole lot of money on something that's
yeah,
only going to be on screen for.
and what a
10
fun
seconds.
moment that was to show off
Yeah.
the character too.
Well, and I love
Like this
too
just
that it
showed
kind
them
of got
as just kind of like an over the top paladin, right?
Yes.
And it was literally a moment that I rolled my eyes at, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is typical. Like this is
Yeah.
definitely the DM being like, you should like this NPC that I'm throwing
Yes.
at you.
Like
He's amazing.
His charisma is like
Yeah.
off the charts. He's got riz.
Yeah. And I was surprised that they didn't utilize that character throughout the whole movie. Like he was just a one and done. But the amount of time that they used him was perfect for what you would typically see in a D&D campaign, right? You had your 4 core members, and then a 5th showed up, and whether it was the DM throwing an NPC that'll help them get a MacGuffin, or it was, I guess that is a bit of a spoiler. I apologize. Or if it was just like my cousin's in town for a few weeks, and I want him to really enjoy D&D, so I'm going to make him this super OP character, you know.
We're gonna make all this work, and it's gonna be fun, and it was. I liked it, and I think that I loved seeing some of the characters in there. It felt very cool. But he was like so pretty charismatic. Yes.
What's funny is I need to buy a Funko Pop for the first time in a little while.
Yeah,
because they have a Thember Chod Funko Pop.
Oh,
and he is just as chonky in his Funko
boy.
Pop form
I loved it
as in regular form. And I try to buy as many, and I'm gonna be you're gonna see my camera lift up and move here. I try to buy as many dragons as possible to put them in my dragon shelf up here, which has like all my treasure.
Nice.
You can see my Arkenstone there too.
Dragon board.
Yeah, like it is. Basically, if there is a specific Funko Pop dragon, I want to get it, and that is definitely one that needs to be added to it. And I didn't really do a very good job. Sorry, I can't really see the camera; it's on a delay.
Yeah, no, you're good. Yeah, that's honestly, I love a lot of that stuff. The design of him, and like, that was a little tongue in cheek, but I loved the character. I loved him. He's cool.
Mm-hmm. Well, apparently, are you talking about Themberchad, or are you talking about the Paladin still?
I'm trying not to get too far into it, but yes, the Themberchad. Yeah. Like it was very
the dragon.
The dragon, yes. Like because
so
speaking
what's
of
funny about that
dragons and I guess just to qualify what I said, so I don't lose anybody there, but it's my thinking behind that is that when I think of D&D and I think of dragons, I think of very intelligent and very exacting creatures, with the exception of being extremely young and naive, or like they haven't gotten to that adult dragon stage. And when I don't know, he felt kind of like Dumb Beast to me. That to me was a little bit odd, but I was okay with it because, again, like in a fantasy movie, if you're the mainstream, he's just gonna be kind of whatever.
Yeah. So first of all, throwing a dragon as like an intelligent NPC at that point would be a bit jarring, I think, for the actual movie. However, as they picked the perfect dragon for it, because and this might be spoilers for Out of the Abyss and a few other like adventures or the character itself. But Themberchad was a baby dragon that was raised by Draugr to basically fuel their forges, and they overfed him, and he's always been kind of dumb.
Okay, that makes more sense then, because like lore-wise, that makes more sense.
Mm-hmm. He very much was like in character as far as it goes, and maybe the party just didn't know Draconic, so they didn't hear him speaking and being like, "Come to my mouth, please," or something like that.
I'm hungry. Nom, nom.
But he is very much a fat, greedy dragon. The stereotypical like. And I guess he plays a role in Out of the Abyss, which I think is funny that we were going to play, and we probably would have seen him at some point in that if we would have kept going with that. Yeah,
that's super awesome. It's cool to see him, and I think it's one of those ones where I think that I think having that context, that's something I think that the movie did really well, is that if you, even without having context, you could enjoy the movie. But if you had context, it was even better. So
yeah.
So to let's see, I want to make sure we get in. So Richard says, "Fast enough on my. I just wish I was fast enough on my mental feet to make a character like that on fly." Digging the
Yeah, that would be great.
I know all my nods up. Sorry, my brain. I can't read my screen apparently.
I know all of my nods end up with a vocabulary or sure, yeah. And then of course Caleb decides to add a wonderful innuendo about what we were talking about there. That's wonderful. Rapid fire Victorian is default. Yep, or difficult. Yeah, I agree. It's very much like, unless you have a really big like improv background combined with a literary background in there too, it's very hard to pull off that kind of nuance. Which, I mean, as far as it goes, like there were several moments in that movie that were very much a on the fly like interruption to the story that you could tell. And it was basically like a player coming through and being like, okay, I'm just gonna say this, like, where's Jonathan? Something like that. Like, and it was very much one of those.
He needs to hear my backstory.
He needs to hear my backstory. I think he would like it. And it's just one of those things where it's like, that's definitely stuff that players would say, and it's definitely stuff that DMs would say.
Yeah.
Especially like the final fight against the BBEG of that movie, the antagonist of the movie. And that final like attack and monologue and all of that at the end there was just perfect D&D group wrap up of a villain, in my opinion.
Some voices.
I have not tried voices too much myself. It's my first time DMing. I'm just concerned with everybody enjoying the time.
I feel that can be really hard, especially if you feel like it becomes a distraction for you because you're trying to remember that plus like what's there. I agree. I honestly, most of the time when I'm playing, I'm never, as a player, I'm never critiquing somebody's like ability to like do an accent or like if it's high or low. To me, it's more about the believability of what they're saying and like me as a person being able to relate to it. And so I agree with that, Daniel. Like I wouldn't worry too much about doing.
And there's definitely only a certain type of people that really like to do voices too. Yep. I know I'm that way with sound effects. I don't like to do a lot of sound effects, and I'm grateful to have a wonderful player named Preston that loves to do sound effects for me whenever I describe them. So thank you for that. And of course, we always have Sirenscape if we need it.
Yeah, and a lot of it. Sometimes it's just I'm not even. My brain is doing what we're doing, and my mouth's doing something that I don't even. Half the time I'll watch again, I was like, "What was I doing?" Like, I don't know what that was from. Like, but yeah, just know that's just how my brain works.
I think there's a cool video for anybody who does want to, like try to make distinct voices for their characters without too much difficulty. There's a video on YouTube called "How to Create 100 Distinctly Different Voices." By the channel Improve Your Voice, and he goes through it's a 14-minute video, and he goes through how to basically give you a bunch of different permutations of voices without having to do an accent or anything.
It's just talking a little bit higher, and
talking higher, talking faster,
maybe talking slower.
For a recent example, Leah Horaneth, our wonderful law mage who helped Victor out of a pickle and into a pickle at the same time in our most recent episode.
And into pickles.
Yep, from one pickle into the frying pickle, out of the frying pickle into the fire pickle.
More pickles.
Yeah, we'll just call it that.
More pickles, more time.
I tried to go with a lighter, more proper voice, methodical, and clipping the T's. Every T was that I tried to remember, because it's very hard to try to remember to do a quirk with constantly while trying to actually say something. Every T was clipped a bit short and a bit more emphasis on the T, just because I thought it made a more interesting character for her and gave her a little bit more of a unique voice with that.
Pickled Vic. Sorry. I'm Pickled Vic. I'm Pickled Vic. Look, Ezra. I'm Pickled Vic.
That's perfect.
Yes.
And to be honest, like, I don't ever know how well my voices come across either.
Caleb.
Yeah.
I love it. Tori would be proud.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Tori would be very proud. I don't know how well my voices come across because when I listen back to them, it just sounds awful because it's my own voice, right?
Yeah, no, I feel like that paradigm of like we hear the vibration of our bones and like it's different in our head, and then once it hits the other people, it becomes discordant a little bit to our own ear.
So I think that I'm changing my voice a lot more than actually comes across, and hopefully the voices are distinct enough that y'all can tell like certain characters. I try to make them as distinct as possible, at least for the scenes. But every now and then, like this last one, I've only got one hag voice, and I had two hags that I had to go back and forth between. So I had to try and like add some little variation to that, and so I made Melba a little bit more conniving, or I tried to, but I don't think it came across that way at all. But it was an interesting experience.
Yeah, no, I think it was good.
Oh, thank you. Richard says that he can tell the difference, and he listens to the podcast mostly. So perfect. As long as the difference is there, and you could basically be like, oh, this sounds like this character or that character, that kind of thing. That's all I need to do. It doesn't need to be a big epic voice that everybody remembers for the end of time. It's also kind of why I do a lot of like small characters with not very good vocabulary, like Cass or Bitter Bit or Glimmerbug, that kind of thing, is because I get to do the crazier voices. And then for everybody else, it's just kind of like, all right, mostly British or Southern if they're female, because apparently Southern accent is like the one that I do a lot as female. Even when I try to do Irish.
You bring out your inner Witherspoon, bringing back the spoon full circle. See?
I think your most unique voice is Victor that I've ever heard, and I think you do an amazing job at it, by the way.
Thank you. It's in that same vein of what you're saying, like trying to do different things. I think the one I struggle with is doing Irish or Scottish without going, like, it always for me drifts really quickly into a dwarf or a pirate really fast. And like, especially I find that those voices, trying to put it into a female context as well, because I think originally Eliza from Eliza Bathory, I was intending her to be like very Scottish. And
really?
I had to kill that because I found I had such a hard time doing the higher voice and like the whatever else stuff without like dumping the I found I never that was mind brain melting. The other one I found that was really difficult to replicate is like a Jamaican accent. Jamaican and Brooklyn accent for me are really, I don't know.
There are certain accents that I all dwarves are Scottish.
That's true. That's true. I think some of them are Russians.
I think there are certain accents that I try to avoid just out of like fear.
Yeah.
Jamaican is one of those. And any sort of like heavy Asian accent I avoid.
Yeah. Or too.
Indian accents. Yep. I like
part of it too is like I don't want my own. I'm going to call them Hollywood stereotypes because that's where most of them came from, was from like television shows or whatever else. But I know that I have friends that would speak in those ways, but I also it's one of those ones that I don't want to go and like offend somebody by, they're like, oh, well, you're being totally stereotypical. Like, that's just what I know. I'm not trying to be.
And honestly, like,
I want to be.
As far as accents go, I try not to go into the full extreme of any of them. Like, even my Irish, I try to do a lighter Irish and everything because I don't want to fall into stereotype territory.
They're after me, Lucky Charms.
Yeah, something like that. And so I definitely like shy away from that. But I'll try to do like a very subtle Asian accent if I can. But as soon as it starts drifting, I shut it down. I just shut it down and go back to normal. Because it's not worth it to me to drift into stereotypes. Because if my intention is not to stereotype it, so I don't want to have it perceived as stereotyping. Right?
Yeah, I agree.
Indian accent is good because I went to school with a lot of Indian people.
Yeah.
I mean, that's awesome. I love that. Oh, and one that I never will touch is a Native American accent. That's I had that's a hard no whenever I'm doing accents. Is it cannot be Native American, because that's a can of worms that I definitely don't want to open.
Yeah, I feel that.
Yeah,
I feel that. It's hard,
but I feel a little bit better about doing something like British or French, because those are
French, yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, again, I don't go too hard into French, right?
We're going to
but I don't go too hard into
French. All too often, that's where my brain drifts really quickly. It's like, then go away, or I'll taunt you for a second time.
Yeah. And I do love doing the very slight German accent.
Oh yeah.
Especially like
without going
whenever
very...
I like the German doctor who is a surgeon and is like, oh, I wish to know how you're feeling based on your pain.
My Uber charge is ready.
When I supplement, or when I deliver a fireball directly to your veins, what do you feel?
How does it make you feel?
Yeah. It definitely is like one of those things where and then as far as like BBEGs go, I just go like either just a harsher accent, or I go with a my mic is going on here.
We've been slipping.
I go with a deeper accent, or I go with a slightly British, but I don't try to do anything else because I don't want, again, my intention is not to make it sound like I am picking a stereotype and claiming that it's evil, right?
Yeah, no, I feel that.
That's actually a big thing in like Hollywood, and
if you're a bad guy, then you'll probably sound like you're German and because
or
Indiana
if
Jones,
it's a musical and you're a bad guy, you're gay, and you sound more stereotypical gay than normal. Like that's a very common trope. Is it's like making the villain sound like they're at least like queer in some way, right? LGBTQ in some way. But it's one of those things where it's just like I try to avoid all of that and just stick with a BBEG that doesn't really have an ethnicity, because it's easier and it doesn't. Like if we were playing on our own and we didn't have cameras, like maybe I'd go with a little bit more. But even then, like it's not something that I like to kind of portray, just because I feel like anybody can be a villain.
Yep, 100%.
Queer coding. Thank you, Caleb. That's what it's called. Let's see. Because they were colonizers and thus oppressors, so they can easily be justified as more vilified, and the accent can easily be easier forgiven. Yeah, and I mean they like that could play a role to it. It's just, I mean, yeah, it's one of those things where, again, I try to avoid going heavy into any accent because I don't want to make anybody come across as being the bad guy.
That's a creepy eyeball. I'm not. Well, this eyeball's just gonna wait because this eyeball's not working.
Yeah, Richard, that it was a Jaguar commercial where the British actors were talking about being cast as villains, and it's because, let's be fair here, the British accent is very smooth. Like if you do like a smooth Londoner, I think is typically what that one is, or a Yorkshire, I think, like the very subtle like one. It makes you seem like suave, and it makes you seem dangerous a little bit. Like, and it's just kind of the way that
James Bond for
movies.
That one.
Yeah, exactly. You can blame James Bond for that one completely. It is a refined villain. That's true.
Yeah, and that's what I agree with. Now that we're getting like the ethics of like of voice acting, I'd never want to portray a specific like I don't want to. Just the same as I don't want to portray a specific one as a villain. I also don't want to portray one as like the dummy or the like. Okay, if they speak in this particular accent, then they're probably going to have a I don't know. Does that make sense? Like I don't want to. I don't want to typecast. I guess that's where I want to go with that. But
yeah,
always use me as a bad
Daniel.
guy. Sounds good, Daniel.
I appreciate
full permission.
Yep.
Wasn't there a what's it called? Not a TikTok. This is back in the Vine days. Damn, Daniel.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks, Doxophobic doll. I'm just gonna call
hey, Doxophobic.
Hey, Dox.
Cory, your room looks dope. I love all your doodads. Thank you. Most of the statues you see behind me are my wife's. She collects superhero statues. You can see a Black Panther just over my shoulder, as well as a Batgirl, and sorry, it's over this shoulder. Batgirl kicking Clayface in the face. And then I've got my sister gave me that knitted. It says Strength, Dex, Con, Intellect, Wisdom, Charisma on it, which I think is awesome. And right below that is my Order of the Stick character print that I got. And then over on the far left there, you can see Lord Raptor from Darkstalkers, right below the Drawfee poster that I love. And then it goes around the room too. So in front of me, there's a whole bunch more statues. I have a whole shelf dedicated to my different Warcraft figures and Funko Pops that I have. I've got my Dragon shelf that I showed off. I've got a Bowser. I've got a couple Yu-Gi-Oh figures. It's kind of a hodgepodge of everything else.
Yeah,
it's nothing compared to Scott's room, but it is a wonderful little room. That's for sure. Yeah, Drawfee is definitely a fan favorite of mine as well.
Made a character once who was mute, never spoke out loud. He was hilarious. I love that.
Mute characters are an interesting concept trying to do. As long as you can play them correctly, play them as like you don't just try to do gestures and be like, my character conveys this to the group. Then it becomes a
fun experiment.
Yeah, then it becomes a better character. I know that in the campaign that I'm playing with Scott and a couple other friends, the Atheris campaign that we have going on, where I play my Lord, my brother-in-law's character is mute. And at first he tried to do the charades thing, and it was fun, but it was also taking a lot of time. And so Scott was kind of like, okay, at this point, I think the group has been with you enough that they can kind of get what you're conveying, so you can kind of streamline it a little bit, which makes it a little bit easier for sure. Why do I get the feeling that you ended up with a compatible wifey? Because I got very lucky and did. She is so. This is a funny story. I say going into my whole life about me and my sweetie. When I was in high school, and I was in my senior year when I met my wife, but when I was in high school, I had a little bit of like knowledge about like superheroes and geek stuff. And like I had the things that I played WoW since 2004, not 2014. And so I read a lot of books. I played a lot of Magic, that sort of thing. I had a lot of different geek stuff that I did, but it was all kind of just like subtle under the table. Like you do in high school, you kind of just keep it to yourself.
Yeah, you don't want to be whenever you stand out, you tend to get bullied or picked on. Yeah. Yep.
I mean, I had my safe spaces and my friends that would like be like, "Oh, hey, did you check this out?" And I'd be like, "Oh yeah, I did check that out and I liked it." This, that, or another thing, And then I got introduced to my wife, and she actually introduced me to Marvel Ultimate Alliance was one of the PlayStation games she played, and she started talking about how, and technically the second movie that we saw, we had our blind date, which we saw prom night on the weekend that it was prom for my school. I didn't go to that prom, but I just went and saw the horror movie instead. But the second movie we saw was the first Iron Man movie. Literally the start of the MCU was the second movie that I saw with my wife. The first like official we were dating movie, right? Instead of just our blind date to see how things went. And she introduced me to Ultimate Alliance, and then she was like, "I really love Spider-Man. He's my favorite hero." And she started showing me like character stuff, and I went like, "Oh, she likes superheroes. Let's learn what we can about superheroes." And I started like diving in deep to geekdom. just started diving headfirst back into it. So by the time we were married, which we had a superhero wedding, which was awesome. But by the time we were married, I was very much outpacing her as far as geekdom went, but we have a very wonderful relationship where we can play video games together, and we both have a lot of the same interests. We have a few different interests. She's not a big fan of D&D, and she's not a big fan of like Magic. She's not a big fan of board games in general, actually, which is a little bit sad because again, I'm going to move my camera here. I'm definitely a board game guy. That is only a section of my board games. Oh, I gave you the Dutch tilt there. But I do have a lot of board games. And she never plays them with me because she doesn't really like them.
Yeah.
But I don't like watching horror movies, which she absolutely loves and adores. So it's one of those things where like we have our own things, but we also have the things that we enjoy together, you know?
Yeah. Describe a signal, explain this meaning. I was a baseball jock in theater club who was a Magic and Final Fantasy nerd, hospital cop with a kid who I loved to play Pokemon cards with, and all of us. Yeah, I 100% agree, Daniel. Like that's the where to be. I was in that similar vein where like I played games. We were in I was on the wrestling. We did wrestling, not wrestling team, but yeah, wrestling. I was on the football team. Played in theater, show choir. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It was a good time. My cousin and I remember we used to watch the Lord of the Rings. My cousin Braden and I were inseparable in high school, and we used to play or watch Lord of the Rings extended editions in like one sitting, and all kinds of just nerdy whatever stuff. And it's fun. It's definitely like you said. It's like then as you get older, I think I liked, and for me, anime was another one that I always watched, and I was always like interested. And we had some a Japanese exchange student, and she was great. She brought actually some VHSs that had some anime on it, and that was like my first, I think, touch to it. Because before that, it was like cartoons, and then I think once I was in high school and mostly in college was when I really was like, you know, I'd watched it up until then without knowing it. I just called them cartoons, and then it was like, oh, there's this whole new world. Like dive in. So
yeah,
it's funny how like all it takes is a little nudge. Dallon's evidence of that. D&D's a gateway drug, and now it
really is. Yeah. Like when he started playing, he was only kind of a Star Wars nerd, mostly. He watched Game of Thrones and he liked that as well, but he definitely wasn't the anime fanatic that he is these days.
Yeah.
And that was something that I think everybody goes through a phase. Who is a nerd goes through the phase of I can't watch cartoons or animated shows because they're kiddie,
childish,
and I don't want to be perceived that way. Mm-hmm. And then after about like when you hit about like 25 or around that area, when you're finally an adult and on your own and not surrounded by kids in high school, you go,
yes, pushing
those
dopamine
whatever
rocks.
The heck I want. Yeah,
I 100% agree with that. Pushing those dopamine rocks.
Exactly.
100%. Yeah, it's one of those unfortunate things that like as a kid, I wish I could see the error of my ways and just been like, you know what,
just
like,
embrace it
and enjoy it. But hindsight's 2020, you know.
Yep. Scott says that the cement's been poured and he's able to enjoy the stream in person. Sweet. So welcome.
Willkommen.
When I was in school, nerddom and geekdom were absolutely ostracized. Thankfully, I didn't care that much and found the other outcasts to pal around with. And thankfully, my brother is a super cool nerd. Your bro is such a fucking nerd. Oh my gosh, sorry. Well, that's our one, I suppose. We're deep enough into the stream.
Dang it, I missed it. Son of a Where's Tori?
Yep. Sorry, yeah. I mean, when I'm self-deprecating myself, apparently I go whole hog, so yeah. But yeah, it definitely like that was the same in high school. I got really lucky that I was able to not suppress, but I was able to put on a proper mask and hide among the normal students for the most part. And I also got really lucky that I was able to, like, the teachers always sat me next to the rowdy students because they thought that I would be a good influence on them.
Little did they know.
Well, I mean, I didn't really talk too much, but when I did speak, it was usually a funny joke. So I kind of became known as like the jokester, and it made them less inclined to actually like tease me or bully me, that kind of thing.
Good.
It was just pure luck that they found me funny. And then from then on, it was just kind of like I'd see them in the hall and be like, "Hey, how's it going?" They'd be like, "Hey," kind of thing. That was it. That was the interaction at all.
I feel that.
We need Tori's goat noise, frustration noise for the bleep button. Yeah, get that Discord soundboard running.
Right. Yeah. Fun fact. Do we have? I haven't looked to see if it has it. Do we have that on the Tales of Aneria one? We should totally do a Tales of Aneria soundboard.
Yeah. I don't know if we have that yet.
That'd be fun.
Yeah, Daniel, I agree. Putting on masks all my life has kind of made me a little bit aware that the true me is not as happy as it could be. Not in the sense of like people aren't making me happy, but more in the sense of like, oh, I've been too many different people and I don't really have a myself.
Yeah, you get that.
And I do probably suffer. I don't suffer from like a medical diagnosis of depression, but I do just suffer from a little bit of depression.
Yeah.
And it does come in waves, which is terrible. But at the same time, it's like I've always felt like I get the most joy out of making other people happy, to the detriment of myself sometimes. So it's not a problem if I put on a face, but every now and then it means that somebody wants me to do something and I just don't want to do anything. I want to just recharge myself.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, I don't want to be happy today.
No, I feel that. Like my extroverted introvert. And yeah, I think we can relate on that for sure.
Yep. And I know that is like, it's a lot more common than I think it is, but it's one of those things where it's like, even now, and I apologize that I have to say this is not the real me. This is the public persona me, where I don't swear often, and I don't. I'm very much just like the gentle, nicer. Like I actually have an announcer voice, and it's a little bit different than my typical voice. That I use, and like I also have like a customer service voice, but I definitely have like a little bit of a different persona.
Yeah.
And it's not that I'm lying and being something that I'm not. It's more that I'm taking aspects of myself that don't usually get to see a lot of use, and I'm amplifying them for your guys' entertainment, right?
Yep.
Yeah, we are really going into like the nitty gritty in this stream. I hope you're all wondering this, or having a wonderful time with this dive into my psyche.
I am.
Can you ask Colby to make a Pally Cleric Sorcerer multiclass for a Curse of Strahd campaign? I don't think Colby takes requests from us specifically, but that might be something you can ask him. Therapy time, yeah, exactly. This is like Victor and Bolt doing therapy to one another, and it's just a DM and a player.
Yep. And that's what ultimately what I feel like I see in. So because vulnerability is a powerful thing, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah. The on that same note, I know that I've mentioned it before, and I can be pretty candid about it, but I too am in that vein of like the because of ADHD and because of some autistic traits, there are things that I mask heavily for certain audiences, places I'm at, people I'm with, and yeah, the public persona is definitely different than no, I wouldn't say like I'm a completely different person, but it is definitely different than when I'm just by myself. So
yeah. And I think that, I mean, everybody obviously has masks that they wear, but
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think both of us are in that vein of like, we want to make sure that we're the best version of us possible for any given situation.
Yeah.
So
make sure people are happy and comfortable. I don't want people to feel uncomfortable and what is this? Okay.
Anthony's wanting a specific build from Colby.
Yeah.
Paladin, Cleric, Sorcerer. I know he played a Paladin Sorcerer in our Curse of Strahd campaign. Yeah, I will. If you want, Anthony, I will mention it to him and see what he says. But yeah. Sorry if I start an uncomfortable road. There's a gas station with snacks over there. Oh, hello. Okay, perfect.
Hey, I do like snacks.
Yeah, and
this figure didn't build itself.
And one thing I'm trying to be is I'm trying to be more open. I'm trying to be a little bit more relaxed and aware of myself, and letting people know pieces of me that they typically wouldn't, because it's like, this is who I am. You just have to kind of go for it.
So
more for a video idea.
Homework for anybody who didn't or who hasn't. What is her name? Give me a second. Vulnerability. Bren. I don't know how to say her name. Brown. This, if you haven't seen it before, check this out. This power of vulnerability. Not gonna try and say her name again. Brenny.
Dr. Breen Brown?
Brene. There you go.
Yeah, I would say Brene.
That one is a really good one. And I think that was, for me, was something that I had to learn through, talking with other people, through whether that be through official, unofficial kind of therapy, just making sure that you yourself, allowing yourself to be vulnerable, can really ultimately change your paradigm and stuff, and really can. Yeah. Just like in D&D, like when we're talking about characters and building stuff, that's one of the things I get the most enjoyment out of D&D with, is that I like to explore the human condition. It's something that I don't like. For instance, with Victor, or with some of the other characters that I played before, I try and give them something that I have not experienced myself, so I can start to think, hey, how would I feel in that situation? What would I do? So that's something I get enjoyment out of. So
yeah, and as a sorry,
I was throwing that to Anthony.
No, it's okay. I'm trying to, love you too, Anthony. As a gender fluid person myself, kind of throwing that out there on stream. It is being able to play D&D and kind of slip into other roles is definitely really like a huge part of the fun for me.
Yeah,
I get to experience things that I typically wouldn't get to experience.
100%. And it's one of those ones where it's like, it's not low stakes, but it's a place where it's safe to do so, and I enjoy that. I enjoy it. It's fun to walk in someone else's shoes.
Yep. We do have the best fans on YouTube, and we do love you all.
100%.
Yep.
100%. 100% with.
So I had a comment about your shoulder pad choice.
Yeah,
it almost looks like a pair of harps, and I love it.
I didn't think of that.
Yeah, and I think it would look really cool if you added like the lines in there, but that's up to you. I just wanted to mention
we could make it wooden or like leather that's in like leather strips that are layered on top of each other, but it'll also still call out to that.
Yep, that's awesome.
Good call. This is where I'm starting to get too nitpicky about which lines. I should just do them all in one layer. But
it's a jug. It's a jug. Yeah, get out.
It's a juggernaut, everybody.
Yep. I go around the corner.
Sneak peek of my wife in the corner. She doesn't know that she's on stream.
That's her in the corner. That's her in the spotlight. Bart, encourage that shit.
Yes.
Every time she comes to you with a picture, you say, "That's amazing.
Best
you
thing
did great.
I've ever seen." Yeah, they can totally do it.
Give her some pointers to work on next time, but don't like criticize anything. Just be like, "This is really good. I can't wait to see what you do next." Like if you can't think of anything nice to say, just say it was good, because I have seen the other side of that coin where you take pictures to somebody and they go, "Well, you didn't do this really well, or this doesn't look very good." And it completely destroys the person, and I hate when that happens.
Yep. Inspiration.
What is the
for the costume? Nothing. So I tend to do a lot of overcoats and other stuff. So this is just like tunic would be like at least when I'm drawing it, I'm thinking of would be like Ocarina of Time, Link, right? Pauldrons. It's a little bit of just kind of mishmash, something I've been doing for a while with like the just pauldrons. And then this right here, this chain actually comes more, I'm thinking more of the Sheriff of Nottingham.
Yeah.
And then these little braids are more like kind of, I don't know, prayer beads or something.
This
Yeah, I don't know, just bruised and battered. Yes, Shin's
He's been through the ringer. Yep.
Shin basically should have died a few times.
Shin's had his shins damaged.
Yes, yeah, he's been kicked in the shins more than once. Yeah, otherwise, and then this one, it's just kind of a mishmash. I don't know. Right now, I'm not looking at any particular whatever it's called. Oh, yeah. I'm not doing any particular like reference photos or anything else. I'm just kind of pulling out of my head at the moment. Which, if anyone is wanting to get better at art, that's one thing that I do highly recommend is drawing from life. And I'm saying that hypocritically because I don't very often. But it does. I can definitely tell a difference when I have reference and I don't. So,
Bart, A+ dad moment right there. She wants to learn mini painting. Buy some dinosaurs, primer them white, and let her go to town. Yep. So good, very cool. Love it.
Love it. Yeah. And that's honestly, it's they carry it with them too. Like once you foster that creativity and everything else, it's something that they might not think about it later on, but I definitely do. Like when I was younger, my dad, he would draw stuff for us and just some of the things that you learn from him, and I don't know, it's just something that can carry with them forever.
I love my parents, but one thing that they struggled with was it wasn't a non-encouragement for passions. It was more of we grew up in a poor household, so everything had to be a bit practical. They had to have a practical application. So it was a lot of like, oh hey, this is
survival versus thriving.
I wanted to do something, and it's like we don't have money for that specifically. I remember one time I was talking to my dad about how I bought a English to Chinese dictionary just because I kind of wanted to start learning Chinese because I thought it was an interesting language. And he said something along the lines of, "Oh, that's not really going to help you in life. You should learn Spanish instead so that you can speak with people, in a bilingual sense there." And it's like that's great, but you also just kind of like destroyed any sort of desire that I had to learn that. And again, my parents were fantastic. I had an amazing childhood. I grew up to be a very well-rounded person, a very empathetic person. But they did have a few things that they did that kind of made me shy away from things. Like for example, in like 5th grade, they started talking about everybody learning, they had like a little orchestra thing where you could like learn violin. Yeah. And I thought it was cool. And to be honest, I thought it was cool because it was something new as a kid to do. And so I asked them for it, and they're like, "Oh, that's a lot of money for the violin." But they agreed, and they started like they rented a violin, which was like $200 or something like that, which is expensive. And I played a little bit, and I got like a little bit good at it, but I could tell from the beginning that it wasn't something that I felt comfortable continuing because I didn't want to cost my parents money for something that I didn't know if it was going to be an ultimate goal of mine, right? Because you never pick up an instrument, or I've never picked up an instrument and been like, I'm going to learn this and I'm going to use it for a career. It's always been like, this would be a hobby. And I didn't feel right spending money on hobbies.
I feel that. I was in a very similar upbringing.
Yeah. But it was one of those things where it's like, again, I feel very blessed. I actually, because my parents, my parents made me take things like auto shop in school. And at the time, it was very much a like, why do I have to take this? I have no interest in cars. I know Scott does, and my dad did. But like nowadays, I'm like, I'm glad that I know at least a little bit about cars and how to change the oil and everything. I remember that they encouraged me to take woodworking because my dad took it, and he was a construction worker for most of his life.
That's something you can always fall back on.
And so it was like learning those skills. But I'm not a hands-on type of person. I don't do a lot of I don't like doing a lot of manual labor. And after like the first day when they were starting to talk about it, I was like, I don't really feel comfortable putting my fingers near like saw blades and everything like that. And so I talked to my dad about it, and he agreed to let me like change it. And I went into the counselor and I was like, hey, what classes do you have available instead that I can take that are electives that have spots left? And like one of the only things was beginning creative writing. And I said, oh, okay, sure. I mean, that sounds fun. I guess, I never had any interest in writing before that. And then like from that point on, I just boom, took off, and I was like, oh, this is amazing. I get to craft whatever story that I want, and people read it and they can enjoy it themselves. Yeah. Yeah, we definitely had a lot of hand-me stuff down for like sports and stuff. And again, like I got put into sports more as a, hey, my dad played sports, Scott played sports, and they were just like, do you want to try? And I just kind of went, yeah, okay. But I never really got into sports. And the older I got, the more lazy I got too. Like again,
Sports
manual
ball.
labor and physical activity is not my strong suit. But yeah, we definitely had we definitely had struggles because of my dad's cancer. But it was one of those things where we pulled through in the end, and I think we're much better people for it as far as like adults go, because we've had that kind of hardship. And I know that like seeing my parents struggle with debt so much has made it that I do not want to be in debt ever. So I'm actually debt free right now.
Good.
Like I've been debt free ever since I think like I want to say like 2016. I want to say maybe 18. But I have been debt free for quite a while, and it feels amazing. It's gotten to the point where it's like I can't buy a new car unless I've saved up for it, right? Or a new used car unless I've saved up for it, because I don't want to have a loan. So I definitely am using older stuff, but at the same time, it feels nice to not have to worry about like payments and late fees and things like that. So
100%. I 100% agree with that.
Yeah, and I agree too, Richard. I think it's great for kids to try a plethora of things growing up and see what they like and see what they don't. I think that the state of our of America specifically, but the state of like capitalism makes it very hard for people to enjoy hobbies without thinking about it in a monetization way. Even like D&D, right? We absolutely love D&D, but like one of the ways that we justify being able to play every week and putting a lot of time and effort into the games is because we have the channel, and because we can offer ourselves a little bit of potential compensation just by you guys watching and sharing like you do and everything like that. So we're really grateful to be able to have a hobby that we can also see a little bit, and maybe not a lot of profit at this point. We don't have a lot of that, but there's still a little bit at least.
Every bit counts.
Yep, and it's still one of those things that even if it's just it keeps the hobby going, that's a good place for us to be.
Yeah, and that's ultimately, I think that's something that Dallin said, especially when we first started as a group, or when we first decided that, hey, we're gonna put this onto YouTube. We're gonna look at this stuff. One of the things that was important was that, hey, like if this helps fund and make things fun and make it so that we all can spend time playing the thing we love, then great. That's exactly what we want. That's what we're in it for. We're not all in it to strike it rich or anything. It's just we enjoy it, and
now like
you guys.
at this point, we have a wonderful little community where, only 3 or 4 of you join us for a stream, But at the same time, it's like we love every single one of you and commenting with you and everything.
Yep.
We've got a fun little. We've got almost like 200 people in our Discord community. I don't know if you. Let me just check that. Double check that here. 49 online and 141. Yeah, so we have 190 people in our community. And it is just a bunch of little friends that just love sharing stuff. And I've been very blessed to be able to talk to you about all of my different ideas and kind of share this really crazy world that I came up with everybody. Like, it's so great, and I love it, every moment of it.
Here.
Last thing I want to talk about, something fun. We're gonna switch gears away from the mental trauma of our past and move on to a little subject I like to call, Preston, I didn't realize you had this game. I just bought. Yep.
There are closets. Like, there are things that people collect. I collect electronics, mostly like AV equipment and games in my Steam library.
Yeah,
and I don't play hardly any of them.
Oh yeah, I've got way too many games in my Steam library. 274 games. One of these days, I would love to start a YouTube channel and just go through each of these games in turn. Obviously, skipping some that would probably get demonetized on the channel. But the game that I didn't realize that you had that we should play sometime, V Rising.
Yeah, V Rising. We actually have a server.
Oh, you do? Okay, cool. Because Scott and I just started playing on a local server. Just the two of us. Well, Casey joined us a little bit, but it wasn't quite her game.
Yeah. No,
but we we started playing. And I was like, this is really cool. And I went to invite Scott, and I was like, oh, other friends who have it, Preston's included. What the heck? Yeah. So
we played. It's been a good stint. It's a fun game. It's a fun game.
Yeah, it is a very fun game.
I like the idea that you're the bad guy and you know it. It's really fun.
It's one of those. Did you ever play Overlord?
I did not play Overlord. So here's the flute. Sorry, you're asking to bring back flute. This is Ollie, and then Bastion's down on the ground. But Ollie's the one that he's the one that I'm always telling to stop or whatever else. He's the one that I keep trying to get in my lap. So.
Nah, he's adorable. But yeah, I do love Overlord had kind of a similar feel where you are a fallen overlord and you're trying to regain your power and fighting against the heroes again. And V Rising has a very similar feel, and I love it. Overlord was like evil Pikmin, which is great.
Did you ever play one of my favorite games when I was in high school was Black and White 2? Did you ever play those games?
I've never heard of those.
I think you'll like it. Basically, you are the god of this realm, and the way you get more powerful is getting more followers. And the way that you win is by taking everyone from the other civilization and bringing them to yours. So it's like you're in you go to these different lands and start different things, and then you have this avatar pet that's like either a giant cow, a giant monkey, a lion. And then it changes the way that your avatar thing looks based on your choices that you make. So if you're evil, it looks evil. If you're good to it,
it looks cuter. How do I say
that? Disagi? I don't think I played that one. What's that one about, Richard? Disgaea? Make the floof.
Tactical role-playing video game created and developed by Nipcon Ichi.
That sounds very familiar.
Number of missions that the player undertakes from a central hub. They can manage equipment and team members. Is this kind of like an XCOM style game? Kind of looks like an XCOM style. Summon members of their party from a starting point up to 10. Each character can move and perform an action, including melee. Yeah, this is an XCOM game. It's definitely a tactical role playing. Obviously, that's a XCOM.
Gotcha.
I think this looks interesting for sure. I have Marvel Midnight Suns which is that tactical Marvel game that I'm
nice.
interested to play. Yeah.
I got that. I think I have that one from my graphics card that I bought recently, but I haven't opened it.
Yeah,
that's true. That's usually true to form. Is usually when I'm playing. 90% of the time, if it's on Steam, I'm playing it on my computer because I want to play with other people. If it's one I don't, if I just need to like go and like cloister myself, it's usually going to be like on a console somewhere else, and that's usually where I don't friend anybody intentionally. Not that I'm like pushing people away, but it's like this is time where I just like shut down and go into full hermit mode for at least 2 days.
Yep. Yeah. As far as going back to your point about the video card thing, I actually can't play Marvel Midnight Suns until I get my new video card.
No.
my old one is going out and it's already like crashed a few times. And it's like I don't want to play on lower graphics.
Mm-hmm.
I just need to basically I'm trying to get a 2080 secondhand from somebody, and it's just I'm just waiting for them to get that back to me. And actually, I think I'm getting a 2080 and a 2070. Scott has more details because it's through a guy at his work.
Nice.
But I'm getting the 2070 or 3080. Sorry, 3080. 3080, and I think the other one, 3070. And I'm getting the 3070 in exchange for like 5 routers that I took from work. that they're like, hey, we've got like 5 routers that we don't need anymore. Does anybody want them? And I claimed them all so that I could trade them for for the 3070.
It was like when I was in college and I worked in IT that we had there was a big purge of these old compact Presario rack mountable servers, and I don't even remember what they were, but they sounded like jets whenever you turned them on. We even had like an IBM something, a bunch of different blade servers, and I remember being like, hey, we're getting rid of these. Like, can I take them home? Like, well, we can't let you just take them, but how about you just like give us like $10 and then we'll write it off. And I'm like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
And then they sat in my closet for so long.
Yeah.
Because I didn't have a place to plug them in or do anything.
Scott has a rack server that he got from a friend's work. Nice. He bought it off him from a friend's work. And it was it's still sitting there, but it's definitely like he's like, this is a huge upgrade for my server. Mm-hmm. I just need to have the time to do it.
100%.
Yep.
100%.
One of these days we will have everything fixed up in this house. The problem is I keep distracting Scott with other things like video games.
Yeah, I feel that.
And painting, saying, hey, I need this mini painted. I need that mini painted.
Yeah, that's one of those things that I don't know. You gotta enjoy life, and at the same time, but being smart about it, and I definitely recommend that as well.
And shit keeps breaking too around the house.
No, oh yeah.
I don't know. Dude, I don't know if you heard it last night, but every time like somebody flushed, it would it would squeak. The water would squeak because one of the regulators was broken. I think if I had to pick, all
right,
if I had to pick a game. One game that that was like like my ultimate game nostalgia trip. I think it has to be WoW because I've played that for so long. Mm-hmm. But discounting like the 2004, it's like going back to like PlayStation and N64. I think Super Smash Brothers is at the top of my list as far as like my ultimate nostalgia game.
Smash Bros.
If we're going obscure, Monster Rancher 2.
Yeah, Monster Rancher.
So good. And there is one, and I can never find this. It's a PS1. It's like, it was on PlayStation 1, and the game featured like a plethora of alien-esque creatures on a hex grid map. And you would plop down on either side, and you would move towards each other and fight, just basically like a tactics.
So like
style.
Heroes of Might and Magic?
Kind of like Heroes of Might and Magic, but it was I think it was a little bit faster than that. Like it was semi FPS style. Like, I don't know. And I can never remember the name of it, and I can't describe it well enough for Google to tell me what it is. But it was, all I remember is that there was this really crazy, like, long-fingered piranha-esque creature with like feet that would run around, and
that's so much fun. And
I would get it from Cosmos Videos, the local video store, all the time.
New memory unlocked. There was a game. Do you guys ever remember? I think it was a platforming game that was like your what's that dungeon? Famous. It's a cartoon, and you basically play through it. You die. It's in Stranger Things.
Oh, are you talking about the one that like they animated, the hand
It's
animated?
the hand animated one, yeah.
Dragon Quest?
No. That one. There was another one called Space Ace, I believe, and then the last one. But anyway, similar to that form, there was this one called Attack of the Tentacle. Did you ever play that one?
No,
so
I have not.
It was basically the premise is that there's a single tentacle that has like legs and like a singular eye that like look like it's mad or whatever, and it runs around and basically goes through history, and you're in time travel trying to stop these things from happening. And when I got home, my mom, I remember talking to her, and I was like, "Yeah, we played this new game." She's like, "What was it called?" And I was like, "Oh, it's called Attack of the Testicle."
Testicle.
And she looks over at me like, "What?" Because at that point, games early in games and stuff, it was like, but these are different.
Dragon's Lair.
That's the one. Yes, thank you. Yeah,
I knew it had
Space Ace is the other one. If you want to play the space version of it.
Yeah.
See,
Daniel, we too took every CD that we could find in the house and found which monsters they were. We actually made a detailed list of which monsters came from which CDs, and it was nice. And it was fun. It was fun to like look down that list and see like Shania Twain, and which monster comes out of that CD. Yeah.
I love that. Yeah, so the Final Fantasy Tactics I mentioned as well. That's oh my gosh, that one was such a good game. That one was like chef's kiss. I don't like very many tactics games, but that one was a genre-defining game for me.
Nice.
And I tried to play the one that came out on mobile with, and I was just really disappointed based on the experience in that game, and then the remarketing of it in a different light it didn't hold the candle to me. But that could be just nostalgia talking. Who knows?
There's a lot of games that I want to play.
Did you play the one called? It was on the PlayStation 2. Mine came with it. This thing was called Dark Cloud. No. Hold on. I gotta find it. And I'm not gonna search it on this one in case we get some non-suitable stuffs. Chrome. Play. And it had this. You had this crystal on your hand, and you could change your home world and customize it. And Dark Cloud.
Really?
Is that what it was called? Yes. So it was Dark Cloud 2. Or Dark Cloud.
Typically, you don't see like a lot of like base building games back then.
No, and that's why I was like that. It was for me. That one was. I remember playing that, and then Final Fantasy 10.
It was 10 that I played, not 9. You're right.
Yeah, 10's the one.
I said earlier that. Yeah, 10's the one with the. The black mage.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. Yeah. The belts all down her dress.
No, I'm thinking of the short one.
Short one. Oh, you're talking about he's angry and he has the my nerd card is gonna get revoked today. I'm not remembering any names. Play 9.
Yeah, I was sorry. It is 9 that I played.
9, okay.
With Vivi.
10, Vivi, yeah. Because 10 is the one with there's another mage there. It's a lady, and she has, you can look her up. She has like belts down the front. Yeah.
That is a lot of belts.
That's a lot of belts.
For sure.
Like every time in the morning, thankfully it's a dress, because otherwise, like trying to get dressed and undressed in the morning, like, all right, I gotta loop this one. That'd be terrible.
So, Richard, is that what you recommend then? Final Fantasy 4, 6, and 9? Nice.
4, 6, yeah. 7, I liked 7 too. Honestly, I think I liked 7 more than I liked 6.
Like,
but that's a personal.
Everybody rages about 7, or not rages, raves.
Now, and I think part of that too is because that's the one that 7. Did you ever watch Advent Children? It's a movie.
Gosh, yes.
That one, yeah.
Holy crap, Scott! We need to get Final Fantasy Advent Children. Wait, is that? No, the one that I've seen is the alien one that has nothing to do with Final Fantasy.
Okay, so that one's. I think that one's the Final Fantasy.
Spirits Within.
Spirits Within. Get the one Final Fantasy Advent Children. It's basically like a really light after story to light not in content, but light as in like it doesn't. It relies a lot on what happened in the game to kind of make things a little bit more like. So if you haven't played the game, it might not have as much power, but it is a very beautiful game too.
Yeah.
You see Bahamut come in and
Advent Children, we've got the Spirits Within, and then apparently there's also one called Kingsglaive.
Yes. Oh, that's where Victor.
With 15.
That's part of where Victor came from.
Cool. I need to watch that one. Those are my favorites. The best feature of 5 were perfected in 6. 7 broke the genre conventions a bit, but it was overhyped in my opinion. Sorry.
That's okay.
8 is just annoying. Well, that's the thing is like every Final Fantasy doesn't feel like it's connected to any other Final Fantasy. Do I have that right? Like,
yeah, that's. I mean, it's accurate. It's not. They're not. Okay. They're not like it's the. I think the only thing that ties them together is that they're usually like JRPGs or otherwise.
And sometimes they have like similar character archetypes, that sort of thing.
Yeah, Gaia. Everyone wants to like save the world, and Gaia is this overarching spirit. And then the thing that carries over a lot of times is like summoners. You'll have summoners that have the ability to summon in like what's his name? Yoshimitsu. The Bushido. I think it's not Yoshimitsu. Anyway, and like Anima, he's like this whatever kind of creature, and then you have Bahamut. You have Shiva, this ice goddess. You have this horse, Raycarity, whatever. It's like a thunder unicorn. He controls lightning, all kinds of fun stuff.
Yeah, I definitely definitely think I want to go through select ones, and I think I do want to play 7 just because I know it's the most popular one. And now that it's been remastered, it makes it a whole lot easier to play.
Oh yeah,
because I do have a rough time playing older games just because. The graphic style, like even now, like there's a lot of like little games out there that have a more simplistic style, and that's cool. It's just not typically my cup of tea.
Yeah, I feel that.
Raiden is who you're thinking of, by the way, the lightning unicorn, I guess.
Yeah,
I'm assuming, considering Raiden is typically a thunder and lightning god,
something like that. It's like it's got an interesting name.
I might start doing my whole playthrough every single one of my games and record some videos on it. Just because there's a lot of interesting.
The Thunder Horse. Ixion, I think is his name. Yeah, Lightning Elemental Aeon. So Aeons are like they're the spirits, these powerful spirits that they call and command to their whatevers, but yeah, it's fun.
Yeah.
And
you know, I've always wanted to
about the Aeons, but it was not.
You're like, so close.
Messed it up.
I've always wanted to make a little RPG adventure in Tales of Aneria, actually.
Yeah.
And I'm like that would be something that like that would be something that I would be like, hey, Preston, you want to do some pixel artwork or some simplistic artwork for that, you know, kind of thing.
These days,
but again,
with
like always time, right?
AI, man, like I read today, so I was talking about this. So anyone who went to the PAX East stuff, I don't think anyone here was, but there was a panel that Colby did with one of the guys, and the thing that I thought, something I was mentioning to him is I was like, hey, I have this idea that I would love to see kind of happen, and I know Cory, you and I were like on that same wavelength of stuff where for a long time I wanted to be able to say, hey, here in this Discord, I want to have this like almost a Guild Wars or World of Warcraft RP system, and I'd seen a lot of other places that did some similar stuff, or like you'd have like forum-based stuff. But what I'm in my head, I was like, you know, I think it would be so cool to have these, you know, like a channel would be like a region, and then, or sorry, a category is a region, then you have a channel that's like a local town, and in there you'd have a text chat that you can interact with different like NPCs and stuff. But the problem with that would always be who's gonna sit and like manage all these interactions in like this living world. And I just read a thing where what was it? It was Stanford and someone else. They took a Chat GPT essentially models, and they fed it a bunch of characters, and had this living, breathing like little tiny. It looked like the first Pokemon, where they have the little houses that are top down, but they let the AI dictated the choices of all these things, and like one of the characters like made a birthday party for this other one, and they made cupcakes and like all these things that was all AI generated, that the AI was like, oh, this is the character decision that's going to happen. I was like, if you could take that and put it in like a living, breathing, like where you could insert character name here and everybody gets a similar experience, but tailored to that person's responses. Oh
yeah.
It takes like the old King, what was that? What the text-based adventure King? I'm having a horrible time with names today.
I'm not sure on this one.
Anyway, it was an old text-based game where you'd be like, turn left, go west, pick up that kind
of basically MUDs, right?
Yes, and that would be just so cool. But go ahead.
Yeah. No, I was going to say that I think that if AI goes anywhere that people want it to go, like in a perfect world, it would be to create like living, breathing game worlds, sort of like you see with like lit RPG stuff, right? Where they're like, here's an MMO, and all of the characters are AI controlled and have their own like personalities and how they act and stuff, and even to the point of like you're playing through and like each week they have a new quest for you. And they're like, oh, hey, you know, like this week, this orc town is being invaded, and you have to go help, like, fend it off by doing some quests there and things like that. King's Quest. Richard says
that's the one.
Okay.
Yep. King's Quest.
And I think like I'm very wary of using AI myself, mostly because I'm just not well. Okay. As far as like the AI image stuff goes, I that's a legal gray area right now, and I definitely don't want to touch it. Right, like that's something that I'm like, I'll wait until this settles, and hopefully we get AI generation that is we use only approved user images. You know, like artists have been like, yes, you can use my stuff to help generate it and everything like that.
Or kickback
like,
if you do, or credit or something.
Yeah, because I always feel like. I feel very bad if I ever try to use and honestly I'm not good at it. Like that's an art form in itself at this point, because I've seen some of the prompts that get like some of the better results, and holy crap, they're like 5 or 10 lines long of don't include this, here's another prompt to add in, kind of thing. Like holy crap, there's so much that you can do with it that most people are just like, oh, put in human face and see how crazy it looks. It's like, no, you can do a lot more to make that face look really good.
Have you seen this? Speaking of have you seen the one where they were talking about how humans eat spaghetti and what AI thinks people
eat?
That is like, disturbing.
Yeah, AI does not know how humans eat spaghetti at all. Like it can't figure it out.
Are you down?
But as far as something like Chat GPT goes, I don't have any issues if a DM or a player wants to use it for something in their game. Like you said with Shin here, you've been talking about how like you've been using ChatGPT to kind of give you stuff in his backstory, and it's like it's great to take inspiration from ChatGPT and develop your backstory based on that, right?
Totally. And just be able to say like, because sometimes you just have that creative block, right? And you get in there. Yeah. And being able to just drop something in and being like, hey, I don't have an idea, but like, give me some ideas about like a festival that's surrounded by, that's focused on pumpkins in the middle of the desert.
Yeah.
Like, give me some ideas. And then it starts doing this. And then based on that, you can take that and spin it off different ways and actually.
Scott was talking about how he was using it. And he was like, he was literally doing a festival thing. And he was like, what are some activities that would be at a harbor town festival, right? And it went through a few different activities, and he was like, great, these give me some good ideas. Or he asked what does the lair of this type of monster look like? And it gave him some great like interesting ideas of how that works.
And I think that one thing from a DM standpoint, and you guys, I think that we have a lot of different, people that can do different things and have strong suits. But one of the things that I'm not very strong with is like giving a really good description of like my character. Like if you ask me, like, what are they wearing today? Like I'm like, I don't know, he's just Victor. Like,
yeah.
But then being able to say, okay, like give me similar to what's that? Colby has a sponsor that they'll give you descriptions of stuff that people will actually author and write for you. That kind of stuff I'm not very good at, to be able to say like, oh, they have alabaster skin and like all this other kinds of stuff, and be able to like give it really rich kind of stuff, I'm just like, oh yeah, there's a person standing there.
I'm absolutely horrible when it comes to like clothing.
Yeah.
Like all my clothing is very like I have like 2 or 3 different clothing types that I really like have in my head and can describe very well. And it's like it'd be great to be like, give me a casual outfit for a medieval night, kind of thing, and have that kind of generate and give you the quick ideas for it. So, and I'm complete. I think it's just another great tool in the D&D bag.
I agree. Just definitely can't be the end all be all, because in my this and again we're getting into the philosophics of
my downfall is names. All my NPCs are named Bob.
Bob. I am Bob. We are Bob.
Scott was just talking about how one of our friends DM'd a lot of games, and whenever he couldn't come up with a name, he always reverted to Steve. So anytime we are like, "Hey, what's this character's name?" everybody would just start shouting, "Oh, it's Steve, isn't it?"
Right. Hey, Steve.
I think it is closing time, my friends.
It is.
Shin is looking amazing. I love the detail on the face. That kind of gives him that little bit of a fox face, like when he is that like when he's casting magic, maybe like it glows a bit.
So I'm thinking what this for right now. What I'm hoping, at least right now, I'm trying to get more dimensionality, figure out what's in his face, but I want to push that angular focus, that kind of like mischievous look in his eye, and also that. This is a trope in my head, but like whenever I think of a fox spirit, whether it's male or female, I think of them as more of that trickster fox, that not succubine, but the what do you call that? Like that androgynous, like you're not really sure, like he's a dude, but like you're like, wow, like that's a really pretty dude.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, androgyny would work best there.
Yeah. So I thought that was kind of the direction. So we can, like I said, we'll revisit some of this. There's pieces here you can obviously see that we were more deep in conversation. We had a very good conversation, by the way, everybody.
Ooh, Bart has one last question for you. What did the fox say?
What did the fox say? He said...
my knees.
My knees. Somebody please send a medic. And you'll understand why after the first episode.
Yes, absolutely. Which you can check out next Wednesday.
Hit points.
Instead of our usual off week, you can check out the first Pathfinder there, where you can see this character in action.
And the other ones.
Yeah. Yep. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.
Everything.
We're very happy to have everybody that joined us tonight. Don't forget to join the Discord, join us on Twitter, join us on TikTok. We need to get some more TikToks out. We need to do some more YouTube shorts.
Yep.
That's all stuff that's in the pipeline, and hopefully we've got some other things that I'm toying with that might be coming through soon.
To hear about any of our upcoming membership stuff, any of our upcoming other like things we have in the works, then make sure to stay tuned to Discord. So I know most of you are.
Yeah.
So,
thanks for hanging out. Yeah, and we'll see you all next Friday with a paint stream. Thank you, Preston. Good job tonight.
Thanks, guys. See you next time.